Hey guys, it is Boundary Waters Canoe Area 2025 decision time. Got a couple of thoughts I want to share with you, and just thought it'd be more efficient to do it this way than doing another Zoom call or anything like that. Joshua has his bike race in Colorado on July, I think 13th maybe. He told me through text that he would be unable to travel back on the 14th, and so he would travel back on the 15th. So our week would be July 13th through the 19th, or 13th through the 20th, whatever we decided. Joshua could drive back from Colorado on the 15th, grab stuff. He and I chatted. He could take my solo canoe, have it ready to roll, drive up to the Boundary Waters early or late, middle of the night, and meet us on the 16th. He'd put in on the 16th. We would pick a lake and make that our day trip, fish that lake and wait for him. Don't know if we'd want to do CBs, or as Bill through an idea past me, maybe a sat phone in case he had some bike mishap or auto issue here and couldn't end up coming. But this would be our meeting date if everything worked well. Also, one thing I did think about was, wind. If we're on a big lake, wind might become an issue. So, Joshua, you would have to decide, is it worth 1, 2, 3 nights and out on the 19th, or 1, 2, 3, 4 nights out on the 20th, depending on what we decided. I would propose to the Madison group, Mark, Dawson, that we would leave on the 12th, stay in a bunkhouse that night, and get in early to mid-morning at the latest on Sunday the 13th, depending on Dawson's work schedule. Nate and Bill, hopefully we could stay in the bunkhouse on the night of the 12th and I'll get up and go. But if you guys wanted to meet us on the 13th, we could do that. When we talked on Zoom, we did initially talk about, so here's the Boundary Waters whole area. Our last trip, we met here, put in entry point 52, and then kind of Long Island Lake is right in here. Work this area. We have never done this entry point 62, 64 in the northeast corridor. Dawson has done that with another group, but this is one area that we talked about. So after giving it some thought, I don't think that this is going to be the best route for this trip, and I did meet with Bill just to kind of throw some ideas around. We'd have to put in on 62 or 64. And typically in the summer, wind is going to be coming out of the northwest. And so if we put in on 64, we'd kind of zigzag, get to Pine Lake, have to go up to East Pine, technically exit the Boundary Waters here on Fowl Lake. This is the Canadian-US border, this line right here, and work our way back to do this loop. This is only a couple miles of land, so on put in, we'd drop the trailer, come back, leave a car here, and go. Here's the 1 mile distance. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generously, maybe 7 miles long is Pine Lake. I'd have to look it up, but it would be really, wind dependent. And then, Joshua, if you were coming to meet us here, how far could we get in a day, averaging 2 miles an hour paddling? I don't think that this is a great area for us to think about for this trip, wanting to kind of coordinate meeting up. So I started looking around and thinking about other trips. The year that Bill and Jason were in the group, we put in at 16. And if you guys remember that one, we went north on this river, Moose River, cut across Nina Moose, more of the river, barely hit Lake Agnes, crossed Oyster River, barely hit Oyster, came up here. You guys wussed out when we got to Green Lake. Even though Mark and I wanted to keep going, you guys wussed out, wanted to stay on Green Lake, so we stayed here. The next day we got up and hit BWCA, and then we kind of day tripped around this lake. We took a day trip to Lac LaCroix down here in the Lady Boot Bay. This is where those Boy Scouts died that one year. We were followed by that eagle. If you remember the cover of another day trip, you remember the cover of our book. A storm cloud was coming in, and Bill, the stinky man that he is, picked up a huge snapping turtle on this portage, and we were right here when that storm cloud came in. Mark, you and I paddled around this island and fished, caught nothing. So anyway, this is a really beautiful area and pretty isolated, so I was thinking, what if we put in on not 16, but went a few miles farther on Echo Trail, put in at 14, and in one day, that Sunday, if we could put in by 9 at the latest, went up Little Indian, Sioux River, kept following that up to Loon Lake. And Joshua, this would be the lake that we would want to meet you on. So you would paddle, you would drive, put in, paddle up to Loon Lake, and we'd meet you. We would be day fishing there, guys. On our put-in day, I would say we would try to get 7-ish portages in, and get up here to. So if you count them, we'd go from entry point 14. We'd go about. We've always said 7 is our max, so we'd go 1, and then 2, 3, a long paddle here, 4, and a long portage. That's our fourth one to Slim Lake, 5, 6, and then we get into this area where we would have to decide, do we want to stay here, or go one more, or go 7, or go real hardcore and put in 8. If we could get 8 portages in, I would propose that we either stay on Eugene Lake for the week, or stop here, and then the next day, a short day, and get to Bat Lake. Gun Lake is what this lake is showing up as. Unfortunately, I got a pin here that I can't get rid of because I accidentally clicked it. But this is called Gun Lake, and I thought that'd be fun. Tip of the cap to Nate and Bill. This would be our destination of choice. It's ranked as a 3, and it hasn't gotten a lot of reviews. This one's from 2015. This person said not a whole lot. 2012 is the one I looked at. They said rocky but manageable landing. That doesn't matter to us. There's a long walk to the latrine. That doesn't matter to any of us except for Dawson, who has a tendency to poop his pants. If it looks anything like this, I think this is ideal for our group. And so again, that would be here on Gun Lake. If we can't get there, any of these, and this is really the area that I'm very attracted to for our group. So if we were here, we could day trip around these 2 lakes. We could day trip up to here. This Takumich Lake looks gorgeous to me. We've been on Lac LaCroix, one of the largest lakes that is shared by the Canadian and the U.S. borders. When we were on BWCA Lake over here, we took that day trip down here to the Lady Boot Bay, where we saw that area where the Boy Scouts were killed by that windstorm. But we would be up in here. We could do day trip here. I'd love to spend 2 days on Lac LaCroix up here. I think this would be tons of fun. And then the day that Joshua came, whether we are on Gun Lake or here on Eugene Lake, we would backtrack and then we would fish Loon Lake and Little Loon Lake, waiting for him. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I would propose. Permits. So that would be entry point number 14, Little Indian Sioux River. There's 6 permits allowed per day. Permits open up January 29th at 9 a.m. I'll be teaching class, so I talked to Bill. I might have him pull that permit for the group and pull one for the Wednesday for Joshua. So just kind of need some feedback from you guys. What do you think about this? I like this northeastern corridor rather than the northwestern corridor, entry point 14. I like this route for this year a little bit more than I like the northeastern one that we originally talked about. So what do you guys think? And Joshua, how do you feel about that? Because that is a long 2 days for you. You'd be going from Colorado. I'm not even sure where your ride is, but you'd be driving all the way back from Colorado to Madison, and you'd be hitting us up way up here, all in 2 days, including paddling. So as I told Joshua, I'm sorry, my family vacation kind of got in the middle of the weeks that worked the best, so wish it wasn't that way. Would love to make it work for everybody. So guys, give me some feedback.